It is the perfect time of year to make something gorgeous for your patio. We are going to celebrate the outdoors by making these lovely macrame wind chimes. It's easier than you think. Macrame is a whole lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started. The supplies that we need to make a macrame wind chime are really simple. We just need a 2-inch wood ring. We're going to need some scissors. We need 2 metal rings that are 4 inches. You could use 5 inches, you could use 3 inches as well. We need tons of macrame cord, so make sure you have tons on hand. We need some clear nylon thread, and of course, we need some wind chimes. Working with macrame is just slightly different than other craft projects because we need a really unique area to start our project. I have this area set up, so I have my wood ring right here, kind of hanging down from a metal surface. You could use a hanger. Just make sure it's in the center of your hanger. You could work off of the wall if you have a hook. You could also actually use the top of a soda bottle. Just link this wood ring around the top of the soda bottle, and that's a great way to get started. So the first step in making our gorgeous wind chime, macrame wind chime, is we're going to make 8 lark's head knots. So if you take a look, I've got my center point right here, I've got my 2 end points right here, and we're going to loop them around the wood ring. Now what's really important is we need to decide the front and the back and then loop all of these knots in the same direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little loop right here, so I'm going through the front, pull my 2 strings through the center, and now we just pull it through. Now that's going to put this line across the front. Now if we did it through the back, you would see that line in the back, so it'd be a little bit more blank. Either one is fine. You just want to do all 8 the same way. We take the ends, line them up, find our center point, line it up so that it's going through the front, and then pull those 2 strings through the center. Now this is the most simple of macrame knots, but some of the ones that we're going to do in just a minute are really fun. They're just a little bit more intricate, but this is the basis, this is the foundation of any macrame. Now the length of this macrame cord is about 9 feet long. That's the perfect length for this project. That's about 2 arms lengths. So whenever I cut macrame cord, I actually just stretch out my arms from fingertip to fingertip. I do 2 lengths and then go from there. And that's actually, come to think of it, that's going to be more like 10, maybe even 11 feet. But you could do as little as 9 feet for this project. It's all about how you want to measure and cut your cord. Any kind of macrame cord will work for this. There's beautiful colored cord. You could even dye the cord. The thickness can vary as well. I'm just using a very standard cord. Now the one thing that I will recommend anytime you're working with macrame, choose all cotton, choose natural fibers. Do not choose synthetic fibers. They will hurt your hands as you are making knots. That plastic really wears at your skin and it becomes painful over time. So they can be very cute. You can find them in lots of different colors, but just be really careful when you're working with synthetic materials. So hopefully you've noticed that I've been pushing these together as I work. I want them to be nice and tight. Now anytime we're working with macrame, we're really working in 4s. So 4 pieces or 8 pieces are a great number to work with, and you will see why in just a minute once we start making our knots. Now we are going to work from left to right, so I want to make this nice and centered. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by we're going to section this into 4 pieces, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to make 15 spiral knots going down. That's going to be our next step. So let's just start on this left-hand side with a spiral knot. So we take our 2 outer pieces, left over the 2 middle pieces, far right on top of that, loop the far right through the far left, and then just gently pull. Now as you pull, make sure these 2 center pieces stay lined up. You don't want them to twist and flip. That's going to make it look messy. And we don't need it to be super tight. We just want it to be pretty snug. And we're going to repeat that step. We're making 15 spiral knots. Left over our 2 middle pieces, right on top of that. Right goes through the left. And we just pull it up. I'm making a loop with the left-hand side, the far left. Right goes on top of the left. Right goes up and through the left on the backhand side, just like so. I even hold on to these middle pieces as needed to make sure they don't twist around. And then we just make it tight, pull it snug. It doesn't have to be super tight. And now you can see that, it's starting to spiral. So once it starts to spiral, we can flip it over and work from the other side. So I'm going to make 1 more knot on this side, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. There we go. Now we just flip it over. Now you don't need to keep count as you go, because what you can actually do is just count the stripes. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 right here, so I know I'm on knot number 5. I'm going to do 15 on each section. Now the reason that I'm doing 15 instead of an even number is for a very special reason, which is that with a spiral knot like this, it's just 1 knot, so you don't actually have to work in even numbers. If we were doing a square knot, the square knot is always going to work in 2s, 4s, 6s. It's always an even number because you weave it through one side and then back through the other. So this 15 is a really great way to remember that with your spiral knot, you can actually do any amount. So now that we've finished this first section right here, we've got 15 knots. We are going to continue that same pattern with our next section. So yet again, I've got 2 of my strands. I've got 4 pieces total, and I'm going to continue that same pattern. So again, it's left over the middle 2, right on top of left, right comes up and through the left, and then we just pull it taut. And now it's time to attach our metal ring. So I've got a 4-inch metal ring right here, and I'm basically just gonna position it right along here. So what I wanna do is take my 2 center pieces, put them on the inside. Now my center pieces are longer than my exterior pieces because of that spiral knot. So I'm actually gonna use the interior piece to make that loop and pull it through. Now, it's going to be a little weird to hold, but once you make your first knot, just a really simple single knot, pull it up, now you have your loop in place and you can just keep going from there. It gets a lot easier. And again, this doesn't need to be super tight, just a little taut. We'll do that same thing with our second section. Take the 2 center pieces, put them on the inside. Take the interior piece to make that single knot, that loop, and pull it through. And you're gonna see this start to take shape once we make a few more knots. These are single knots that I'm making. They're very simple. All I'm doing is I'm taking those 2 pieces, so it's left piece, left center piece, making a loop underneath and pulling it through. Very simple. Now you could likely use another type of knot if you're not comfortable with this, but it's just a simple knot. That's all you need, is something really simple. So now we have our metal loop attached all the way around, and let's go ahead and stretch out our different sections right here and check out how our loop is now holding in place. So I can start with any section I like, but what I want to make sure to do is I want to make sure that I find and isolate my longest pieces. Now those are the pieces that I'm going to start with for this next section. So these are my longer pieces. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 4 square knots. So this is going to be left over right, right over left, so it's just like that spiral knot, but we're just going to add a little twist. Pull it taut. Now we're going to do the same thing in reverse. We're going to go right over left, left over right, left comes up and through the right, so it's the exact same thing in reverse. Pull it taut. Now let's try that again. This is the same as the spiral, so left over right, right over left, right goes up and through the left, pull it taut. Now in reverse. Right over left, left over right, pull it up and through, pull it taut. Now some people would call that 4, some people would call that 2 square knots. Just for fun, let's just do 1 more. So that one is just like the spiral. Now here's the one that's in reverse. The right over left, left over right, left comes up and through the right, pull it taut. Now let's repeat that in our next section, and let's do that all the way around. That's our last knot on all of our different sides. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make an alternating square knot. So let's go ahead, let's use this right here just so you can see it really well for that first one. So I'm going to take 2 from one section. So I'm going to take the very right 2 with the very left 2, and I'm going to do that same pattern. So I'm just making that same exact square knot, but I'm blending our different sections, and it's going to look really cute. And there we go. Let's make our next alternating square knot. So we're going to use the same process. Take the far right 2 strands, the far left 2 strands right here. We're going to blend them together. So you can go ahead and drop those center pieces. Take your left piece, loop it over the right. Right comes over left. Right comes up and through the left. Pull it through, and then we'll pull it taut. Now once we make our second square knot, we need to make sure that we have it pretty much lined up with this one right here. So just kind of take a look at this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just eyeball it and make sure that it's about at the same level before we put the right over the left. Left comes over right. Left goes up and through the right, and pull it taut. Now you can adjust these a little bit after you make that knot, but you want to do what you can to get these about even. Alright, perfect. So we have all of our alternating square knots. Now let's repeat that same pattern that we did right here, about equal distance down. This is going to be the last piece that we knot before we add our next ring. So let's just grab, just like we did before. So our very right 2 pieces, our very left 2 pieces. And now we're making those square knots again, and let's try to make them equal distance so that they match how we did it above. Now that we've finished this section, we're going to add our next ring right here, and then we're going to attach our chimes to make it into a wind chime. So just a few steps left, we're almost done. I'm going to do the same thing that I did before, where I'm going to take my 2 center pieces, pull them through, Now again, once you make your first single knot, just a simple knot, you'll hold this ring in place and it gets a lot easier. So let's go ahead and just make a little loop knot, super simple, pull it taut. Do the same thing right here, right next to it. Make that loop, pull it through, pull it taut. And we're going to do the same thing with this next section. Once you have your ring in place, you have that final knot, you can just slide all of your macrame cord into a better position. And just take a look. Now my top ring is maybe slightly higher in the back, lower in the front. That's totally okay, but this one is nice and even and looks super pretty. So we're going to go ahead and hang our wind chimes. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections right here in between these 4 cords. And I'm going to hang 2 wind chimes each per section. That way they can get some movement and touch each other and make that beautiful sound that we love. Now we're going to attach our wind chimes to this metal ring, the lower metal ring. So I have these beautiful chimey metal pieces, and I'm going to take these very short lengths of clear nylon. The reason that I'm using clear nylon is that it's super lightweight, it's going to give a lot of movement, and it also makes it invisible. So just like we did before with that lark's head knot, I've looped it through the piece. This is going to be our top, this is our bottom. And I'm going to hold both of those loops in one hand because the type of knot we use here is really important. We need to use a balloon knot. So I went all the way around, I looped both pieces around, pull them through, and we're going to have to do that one more time. It can be a little bit challenging in this position. If you struggle with this, this is a great time to take your wind chime, lay it down on a table, and finish on a table, because this is a little bit challenging in this standing position like this. But basically all we need to do is just create a balloon knot, double knot it, and then we'll hang our next piece. So I'm going to add my second one to this section. Again, I just take my clear nylon, bring it through that loop. That's going to be our top. Now we have both of the ends together, and we're going to make a balloon knot. So just loop both ends around in a circle around the metal piece. Can I do it? Now we want them to be about the same height, but they don't have to be perfect. So right around in there. Now having them the same height is great for aesthetics, but we just want them to be close enough to where they can bump each other and make that beautiful chime, which is the goal of this project. So again, we always use a double knot, balloon knot and a double knot. Pull it through, let it go, and now you can kind of get a sense of that chime, and we'll trim these ends at the end, but I'll go ahead and add the rest of the pieces, 2 per section all the way around. Now I'm attaching my last wind chime. I've got my double knot right here. Now all we need to do for this to be completely finished is just clean it up, make it a little bit more presentable, just make it cute. Now it's already got this chime that we love. It's going to be great outside when the wind blows. But let's just go ahead and trim some of these loose ends right here. I'm going to leave a little bit of length just to be on the safe side. It is invisible nylon, so leaving a little bit I don't think should be a problem. And after I trim these, I'm going to trim the excess macrame cord. I'm going to make the macrame cord about the same length as the ends of the wind chimes. That way it just looks really matchy and cute and very professional. You know what I'm going to do? Just for fun, kind of an afterthought, I'm going to add one more square knot on each end just to make sure that all of this holds in place really nicely too. So it's actually like 1/2. I'm just doing like one side. So it's even like a spiral, like one spiral knot, right? It's actually the same when we just do that one little piece. And I'm just doing this just to make sure that everything is nice and in place. Give it a little bit of extra hold. Then I'm going to trim the ends and then we'll be done. Last knot. It's our very last knot, so you can always celebrate your very last knot on any macrame piece. Now let's trim the ends. So again, I want them to be about the same length as all of our chimes, just to make it look really professional. So I'm just going to trim it right here, and I also want all of my macrame cord to be just about even. Now that we have our macrame cord trimmed, now I want to make this look like a finished piece, and I want to give a little trick of the eye to make the ends look a little bit more even, so I'm actually just going to unravel the ends. So see, all of your macrame cord is made up of tons of different pieces of cord depending on how thick it is, but it's actually just sections of tiny threads. So you can just take that section and start to unwind it, and it makes it look really cute and gives it kind of a finished quality. Voila, we have a finished macrame wind chime. This macrame wind chime is so perfect for outdoors on your patio. You can hang it in a doorway. It sounds beautiful and makes a lovely gift. I hope you enjoyed making it. If you want more tutorials like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. My name is Brittany Bly. This is Pop Shop America, and happy crafting.